Cool. We are live. Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a Q&A Themis and Thoth did on this Tuesday, and a particular section of it which I found kind of interesting, a little disturbing, and maybe worth some conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and play my intro, and then we can get straight into it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and this is just a clip from Themis and Thoth's live on the 12th, I think this Tuesday. And the context before we start the video is the McDonald's woman who her child's father brought food for one person instead of all four kids. Hey everybody, hello team, twerk team, early in the chat, twerking, love it. Yeah, the conversation was about the McDonald's thing that pretty much everyone has seen. Hopefully I don't have to explain it that deeply, but it was just a lady and her ex brought her McDonald's for his child while she had four children in the home. And of course she was mad about that, and she exhibited some weird behavior through the McDonald's down the street. So I guess nobody got fed. Apparently it was a skit, but there was a lot of discussion around that, including on Themis and Thoth. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the clip in question. And let me make sure this is the right spot.
Drag all of us. Drag us. Period. Go ahead, Prince Betty.
I actually agree with what the last thing Malik said. The whole panel, I wrote down something you said earlier. I took notes. You said that these women should not be settling for mediocre men and some other things, but I just want to touch on that point. And this was, in my opinion, a mediocre man. And at every step in you discussing this with most of the women on this panel, there has been this kind of coddling of the man, where, again, it's all about his obligation legally to his child and what he needs to provide for his child legally, as opposed to...
Wait, pause. And it's funny because, like, people keep, these women are dragging men. And it's like, if you actually listen to some of the conversation, it feels like they're just, like, asking for, like, the bare minimum. Like, just take care of your child, nothing more. It's like, we're not, the women speaking aren't even asking you for anything. They're not even asking you for anything yet. But go ahead. Sorry, I just needed to underscore that.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was going to add. He's doing, in my opinion, the bare minimum. And instead of people saying, why are we allowing this man to do the bare minimum, as well as somebody talked about the other children's fathers who aren't doing anything either, it looks like there was more of a attacking of the woman, attacking the way she's using her food stamps, which I think requires a bigger conversation about whether or not she's financially literate. And just for some context, the three of the women in particular on this panel made a comment about food stamps. Hi, Jenny Bean. Okay, let me find out y'all out here getting strong, listening to Prince Petty. Yes, I'm here for it. Workouts 2022. I think everybody here knows the context, actually. Do I need to provide context in the chat, or is everybody okay? Gwen, I don't know who Gwen Johnson is. I don't know who that is. I thought I knew everybody here. I guess I don't. So, no, it was legitimately these women, in the tone of their conversation was very accusatory of the woman and her usage of food stamps. Vitamin said y'all know whatever. I ain't gotta explain. Let's play a little bit more. And whether or not she has access to, maybe cheap, affordable food, we don't know. Like,
no, absolutely not. Prince Petty did not come out of no manosphere. I think Prince Petty is lying to us. He's lying to us about his origin story. He ain't come from no manosphere.
If you go to my channel, my comment here
is getting depressing. But I like channels like this where you see like, okay, yeah,
I don't know what part it is, so y'all gonna have to be patient while I skip.
And I don't care if you are a male child. I don't care if you're a female child.
Oh, there it is.
Wait, pause. I'm gonna have.
It's like,
I felt like it, like we kind of, not me. I didn't do it with y'all. No,
if you're
absolutely
providing
not.
and protecting, they're not talking about you.
Oh,
Do you want from me?
Can I go back to pushing back to us baby and coddling men, and then also hit on some of the points I just kind of brought up. Number one, I don't think a baby mama has the same weight as a wife. I would expect if I got married to someone, if they were married before, that they would have, if they were married before.
I just want to pause. This was also a common theme of the conversation these women should have got married before they carried the same old conservative type of talking point. When, to my knowledge, I didn't do the research, guys, but to my knowledge, Themis has already done the research, as well as Cynthia G, who has appeared on his channel frequently, as well as she did. I know she did a live on the Moynihan Report where she literally looked at married couples historically in the Black community, and the data showed that even while they were married, they were still being abandoned. So the get married before you carry, I don't know how much that maybe that does make a big effect in the white community, the Asian community, or whatever. But based on what Themis and Cynthia have presented in the past, it does not seem like in the Black community, marriage will save you from becoming a baby mama in the first place. Yeah, baby mama versus wife. Does it really matter when, again, they are proposing marriage as a solution to this type of degenerate behavior that you're experiencing by, I guess, going around having sex while you're single or whatever. But even if you do this as a wife, you are still subject to the same behavior that they're suggesting you get married to avoid. So I don't think that's a reasonable solution. You are not better because you married. No, not, at least not in the Black community. Again, I don't know how it is in the white community. I don't know how it is in the Asian or Latin community, but at least in the Black community, I think we have sufficient data to say that being married will not save you. So let's play a little bit more. She was, yes, this was the woman who was speaking, I think.
Before the ex-wife would have right to alimony, obviously, to him. I don't feel like a baby mother should have access to what would be.
Okay, another quick pause. When it came to alimony, again, to my knowledge, as we've discussed before, Black women tend to out-earn their husband in their long-term partner. So when it comes to alimony, which I think is usually awarded to, or it usually benefits the less financial independent person, I think this would benefit the men more since they're not making as much money as the women. But also, I don't know how alimony works, so grain of salt.
Be my man now. His kids should always have access, and that's completely different than just like being on the back and call the baby mom. But back to being pushing back about coddling men. I don't coddle adults, and at the end of the day, adults have the ability to make choices and decisions, and they need to live with that. I don't care if they're male, and I don't care if they're female. They need to live with their decisions. So at the end of the day,
I actually have a question for you now.
Yes.
So if you're dating a guy and he did exactly what that guy did, right? Let's say he is going over to his ex, you would think, oh, it's fine if he's just gonna bring his child food when you know that there's other children over that the ex has other children. You would, because you said you don't want other women to feel entitled to your man's money. Fair enough. So like you would just be like, my man can't be giving other kids food.
Number one, I don't have children, so I would never date a man who has children already. Let's just start here. But now answering your question, if I had a man who had children and he was in that scenario, I would be going with him with some baked food that I have made for her family. Like, here's some food. We're not buying any McDonald's. I'm all up in your business. I want to see how you live, because if we decide to have children down the road, I want to see how you parent your kids. No,
that was you caught up quick, because that's actually what's going to be what I'm going to do. But I'm going to ask you this now then, since we changed it. If the child is saying, oh, I want, my child likes McDonald's, and I'm going to get my child McDonald's. And so...
Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this part because she starts talking about groceries versus McDonald's and instead of answering the question. But more women are paying child. Whoa, what did I miss in the chat? Are there women out here paying child? Let me find out. Is women out here paying child support? Are y'all trolling me? But what she answered just then, I think is indicative. I'm all up in your business. You sure that's where you want to be? Let me not put that on screen. This is a common theme in the conversation that Themis calls out. I called it out before, which is why she's addressing me and responding to what I said about the women who were, these three women in particular on this panel, who were coddling men. He asked her, based in so many words, do you find what the man with the McDonald's did to be degenerate? Is he just doing the bare minimum and he needs to do more? Her response was, yes, he is doing the bare minimum. He asked, if that was your child, would you do more? She said, yes, I would do more. It's not okay morally for me to do the bare minimum. So he then asked, if you see it morally incorrect, the behavior that he's doing, you agree that you would not do it yourself. You agree that you would not accept a man in your life who would do that to you, or do that type of behavior to his children. Why are you okay with allowing him to do so? Her answer was something like, maybe I should play it a little bit instead of misconstruing what she said. But what she said was something like, I'm not going to hold him to my standard of morals, which I found to be an unsatisfactory answer, because keep in mind, the reason I said you're coddling the men is because she was kind of, in my opinion, most of them were attacking the woman for her behavior. They were policing the woman's behavior, telling the woman what to do, telling the woman she should have picked better. Again, we talked about the welfare and how they're just using welfare as an escape. You're not supposed to be on it. It was kind of this conservative type of drag on this woman. So when it came to her holding the woman accountable according to her morals, she had no issue. And in fact, as you can see by the length of the video, we did that for almost 3 hours, where the women mostly talked about this woman and held her accountable. But when it came time to hold the man accountable, again, like she said, it's just like, I'm not going to make him follow my morals. So I found that, I don't know if disingenuous is the word, but is there not hypocrisy if you are saying I'm holding both sexes accountable equally, but your accountability for the man is maybe like 3 seconds of saying, oh yeah, he's bad, I wouldn't accept that, and your accountability for the woman is going into a 3-hour-long conversation about why she should have picked better and how your ancestral womb, you need to take responsibility because women have more power or whatever. So I don't know. I found that to be strange. In the hypothetical discussion, she was choosing to hold the woman to her standards, but not the man. Yeah, that is pretty much one of my main contentions with what she was saying. And I wish I had been able to articulate that Tuesday, but I just don't think fast enough. So it is what it is. We are trained to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard than men, but men come built in with an excuse because they are men. Yeah, I think I talked about that on my last live, actually, about how, particularly, I was talking about how parents raise their daughters and sons differently, and how parents will literally be high-fiving their son when their son loses his virginity at like when he's underage. But when it comes to a woman, even thinking so much about kissing a man, there's all of this policing. I think because we have this kind of societal responsibility we ascribe to girls. And when you're thinking about your girl being sexual early, if you have a daughter, you're thinking about, you might get pregnant and have to raise this child for 18 years. When you think about your son being sexual at an early age, it's just like, hell yeah, you got some pussy. So it's literally, there's not an expectation for men to raise their kids. If they get somebody pregnant, there's not like these scare tactic talks that they have with their daughters to try to scare you away from sex and police your sexuality. And basically, again, you don't want to end up a single mom. You don't want to end up pregnant by some man. You need to control yourself sexually. And we don't do that for men. I think that shows a lot, especially in this conversation where, again, she is choosing to hold the woman accountable. She's perfectly fine with holding the woman accountable. When we talked about the woman through the McDonald's down the street, she was like, that's reprehensible. She shouldn't be doing that. She was perfectly okay with commenting on what she should be doing. But again, when it came to the man, no, it's not up to me to hold him to my morals. And something I was thinking about this is, maybe because I'm a man, my interest is in holding other men accountable. And because she's a woman, like you guys in the chat and Themis has discussed before, is it really women's place to be trying to fix black men? Maybe that was the grace I gave her. Maybe it's just not her interest to discuss ideas about how to fix the man, and she's only interested in what we can do for the woman because she's a woman. To me, that's understandable, but that's not what I saw. What I saw was her holding the woman accountable for the actions of a man, which, even if you're not interested in fixing the man, I don't think you should instead hold the woman accountable and make her responsible for his actions. So let's play a little more and see where this conversation goes.
Well, I'm going to buy him McDonald's, but he has 3 children, 3 siblings. They're there. Would you stop your husband from getting all the children McDonald's? And would you be taken aback if he's like, I'm only going to buy McDonald's for my child?
I would. I would think that's strange.
You would what? Stop? You would stop him?
And let me know if it's too fast, guys. I have it on 1.5 just so we can get through it. But You guys can let me know if
I
need
would
to slow
stop
it
him from
down.
getting McDonald's one because it's not healthy too. I'd be like, well, if they're all hungry, why are you stopping at McDonald's when you can stop at Boston
All
Market?
right, pause. Farmers market, they're going to get healthy food. Would you stop him from getting food for the other children too?
No.
Would you look at him differently if he said, I'm only going to get food from my child?
If it was the man I was with, yeah, I would look at him differently.
All right, he's not a good man. And then the man who would do that, in your opinion,
Hello, Key. Key, are you in a car right now?
Yes, sir, I am.
Why are you unprepared? Why do you hate me? And why do you disrespect my stream like this?
First off, you did not give me a start time, so therefore I was not prepared, or else I would have told you about my extended travel time. Okay, I would have pre-warned you.
I'm just playing. I do want to apologize to everybody for the late start time. I think I had this set for like 4 o'clock today. Hi, True Mystique. Hey, gotta make some shirts. I hope so. And drop the link, please, after you're done with the fruitcake shirts. True Mystique says she got y'all. Everybody who's looking for a fruitcake shirt, True Mystique has just taken responsibility, and she is accountable for that now. Let's finally hold women accountable this year, guys. But yeah, hey, True Mystique, and hey, Key. You might actually be interested in this conversation because if you remember what happened with the lady throwing the McDonald's away when her man brought it when her ex brought it for his child and not the other children, that's actually what today's conversation is about. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to gloat, because you seemed very happy when that happened and you were like, you need to talk about this. It was like, I don't know. I didn't like the way you wanted to hold this woman accountable so badly. I don't like that. We don't hold women accountable.
Without a doubt. And the only reason, no. Definitely need to hold women accountable. Definitely to hold women accountable.
Not me. I think there's enough of that going on. I think there's enough. I'm more interested in when men fuck up. Let's hold them accountable.
I agree. We definitely need to do that too. But no, I'm specifically talking about women with single fathers. That is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that is what I want to hold women accountable for, because I'm a firm believer that it is some of these women, not all of them, some of these single mothers are the ones pushing the fathers away whenever it comes to them being there for their kids. It's some of these single mothers doing this. And whether they're doing it on purpose or not, they can lie to themselves and tell them that, but their actions, their repeated actions are what's doing this. And that woman's actions on what she did right there is a prime example of why fathers won't go above and beyond for their kids whenever they're single fathers. They try to do the basic, try to meet the basic needs, and they try to leave it at that.
Key, did you come on my stream today to be degenerate? I want you to answer truthfully.
That's why I show up every day, is to be degenerate and to disagree.
Well, as long as
I
already
know
we are not going to have the discussion about whether or not he went above and beyond today, because I already did that Tuesday. That's actually what we're looking at. I went on Themis and Thoth, that channel I recommended you, that you said you didn't watch, and that really hurt me. But and we had a discussion again about Vitamin said she need more details. What we're not going to do, look what we're doing today, guys, is critiquing a conversation we already had. We're not going to have that conversation again today. Maybe we can have it on the weekend, but I don't want to have the McDonald's conversation because it was annoying to me that I found out the whole thing was a skit in the first place. And here, let me just get you up to speed, Key. So we're watching a live where I and some other individuals discuss this man and how, number one, he used to get the other kids food until he broke up with the woman. I find that problematic because either he's being petty or he has this kind of entitlement to the woman where once he's no longer having sexual access to her, he now takes away these benefits from the kids, which to me means he never cared for those kids or loved them genuinely. He was only giving them meals and such, like he was doing as, again, benefit to this woman he's dating. So, you know what I mean, Key? That's why I found it to be degenerate, because his behavior switched up after they broke up, which to me told me, after you break up, do you have to punish the kids? In my opinion, no. But he did. So that was concerning to me. But also, in this live in general, we were talking about community and how this man did the bare minimum, which is, provide for his child. But why could he not go above and beyond and provide for the other children in the household? We talked about kind of the morality of having starving children in the household with your child and choosing not to get the food, apparently not due to a lack of money, because again, he used to do it all the time before they broke up. So literally out of pettiness or whatever, these other kids around my child can starve. Who cares about the community as long as I do the bare minimum and buy my kids some McDonald's? The kid he don't have custody of, by the way. But we're just gonna watch the live and
hold on. Before you play, I have to address a couple of these comments. Because I think that it was taken a little bit in the wrong direction. So first things first, I'm not saying most women, and I didn't say most women. I didn't say all women. I said some of these women, not most, right? And then secondly, regardless or not, if you have, it was about the custody thing, right? Which makes sense, obviously, to get joint custody. But regardless or not, if you have joint custody, whenever it is not your due time to have your child, you don't get an overruling, hey, I got food for my child, or hey, I want to do this with my child, you have to give me my child. That's not a part of joint custody, right? So you have rights for your specific time appointed by the court, which comes in writing. So therefore, with it being her time to have the child, you have to ask permission. Because if you take a child, even though you have rights to it, you take a child without permission, whenever it's not your court appointed time, that's considered kidnapping, whether it be your own child or not. And I can only say this from experience of knowing this. Yeah, it's considered kidnapping. So you can have joint custody, but like he did, he tried to ask for her to let his kid come out with him, and she said no. So from that point, there's nothing else he could do because she said no. He can't go forcefully take his child from her. And he may very well have had joint custody, and he may very well have had time that he's entitled to with his kid. But there's nothing you can do about it. If it's her scheduled time and she says no to the extra time you want, you can't do anything about that.
So if your child is in this condition where they are starving, you can answer the comments if you want to. I specifically said I did not want to spend time. Anyway, if your child is in this condition where he's starving at the mother's house and you have to bring him food that she literally throw down the street, and you try your best to get him, but you say, I don't know if you say you experienced this before, but apparently picking up your child from the mother is kidnapping if she does not agree to it. I'm not sure on the legality of that or if that's true or not or where you got that from, but we'll just take your word for it. Why would you not go to court to get maybe full custody of your child if they are in such poor condition and the mother is so hostile towards you? Would you not document this, maybe talk to the police about this and get a court order and go and get full custody of your children? Would that not be better than this kind of back and forth with the mother?
I would definitely agree that would be the case. But before I touch on that, the comments, right? The percentage, I don't know. I don't think the percentage is very high, but I won't say the percentage is low because I don't know. I'm not saying that every single situation that involves a fatherless home is because the mother's pushed them away. I'm not saying that by any means. I just say some of these women, some situations, right? But some will fit into any situation, right? So maybe I shouldn't touch on that too much. I'll just leave it at that sometimes that's what's happening and it's not being looked at as deep as it should, right? It's always being blamed on the father for leaving, but it's not being looked at that the mother's pushing the father away. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to put it out there like I'm blaming any certain amount of women. Right, so that was the thing with that situation, and yeah, we don't know about the court order. So I mean, I don't know if it's a court order in place. I don't know what kind of custody situation they have. I don't know about anything like that. But what I can say from the legality standpoint, you can actually Google it if you want to, and you'll find it in Google. But you'll also see it if you ever go to court and have to get those papers written. It is in a law. It's a law, a state law, and from as far as I understand, every single state, unless some states are different, that if you are forcefully taking your child, a child at all, but your child included, from the other custodial parents, whenever it is their court-appointed time, it is considered kidnapping. If it's my time to have my child and the mom is like, nah, I want my child back, and she comes to try to take the child, that's considered kidnapping on her part as well. So the legality standpoint is from actually knowing.
So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I think we'll have this conversation, not today, but I am fully prepared to fight you on this, not just the McDonald's, but any situation where a man get online and whine about, oh, she's keeping me from my kids or such like that. I will definitely have that fight with you, because I have already had that fight before with another man who, surprised, he didn't have custody of his child. He did not seek custody of his child in court, but he got up on Facebook to whine. And when I asked him, why did you not go to get custody of your child if this situation is so bad and the mother is so bad and she's keeping you away? And his answer was a shoulder shrug. I gave him the data that suggests that when men go to court to get to get custody of their child, they are extremely likely to win it, even more likely than women. I think something like more than 90% you're likely, if you actually go to court to get custody of your child, you are likely. But then in that same data pool, we can see that only 8% of fathers go to court for custody of their child in the first place. So there is a lot of whining online about what the baby mama is doing and how she's keeping me away. But is there any actual effort in real life, which we don't know if that man in the McDonald's video was putting in effort to see his children or not, outside of bringing them a bag of McDonald's to some kids he didn't have custody of. But if we look at the data, I think generally the data reflects that men will do a lot of whining about the fact that they don't get to see their kids, but do they actually put in the work, put in the time and effort into going to court, put in the money to see their child? And the answer is no, they do not. At least 92% of them do not.
Okay, I would agree with that. I would agree with that, and that's why I said I'm gonna just leave that topic at that and leave it alone, because like the lady said in the comment, I didn't pay specific to who said it, but it's not trying to negate any other person or any other woman's experience, especially the ones who are not doing that. So that's why I said I'm gonna just leave it at that, only speaking on some, because it does sound like, you know what I mean, I'm negating, or I guess trying to push off what the other women are dealing with or the other women's situation when the father's not there. But I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But what I will touch on is what you said about the situation of you used to buy food all the time and now you're not buying food. Does anybody know this guy's financial situation? Because I think you said that he had the money to do it before. Whenever
based on what we have in the video,
yeah,
he was doing this.
Here's my thing. She said that he was doing it before, but he was in a 2-person home before. You know what I mean? Bills were probably split, to be completely honest. I doubt he was fully supporting all the bills.
He was in the home with her? He was in the home with her? I didn't know this, actually.
They were together before.
In the home together, living together?
I'm just going to assume that, right? I'm just going to assume that. Because if he was together with her and still living separately, that would be kind of an odd situation, being that they have a kid together. You know what I mean? So I guess it really could be possible. It could be possible. I just feel like it would have been an odd situation.
I think that's representative of what goes on in the community in general. I think that happens a lot. Like, people live apart, have kids together.
But no, I'm saying they were together. Like, she established they were in a relationship. So from my understanding, it would be strange to be in a relationship with somebody, have a kid with that person, but be living in separate houses.
You can call it strange, but we're not going to pretend this don't happen widespread. I'm not going to do that.
Very true. I will agree with that. So we won't assume that, right? We'll just address it as this. Before, I think the financial situation was different. I think that before, his financial situation was different, right? And even if it wasn't, before, whenever you date somebody with kids, whether it be man or woman, when you get with somebody and kids, you have just assumed responsibility for all of them. Regardless if there's 1, 2, or 10, you have just assumed responsibility for every one of those kids, because you are choosing to take that mother away from her kids.
It's cutting out a little bit.
Kids to put her attention to. But if you choose to enter that relationship, enter that home. So if you choose to enter that relationship or enter that home, you have now taken her full attention away from those kids and put part of that on you. So now you are assuming responsibility for those kids as well, because you need to also be there to provide part of that relationship to those kids. So therefore, yes, he is responsible for providing for all of those kids. But if you are no longer in a relationship with that person, you have now broken that bond. You no longer owe the other half of that relationship to those kids. Her attention.
Whoa. What is this? Doesn't, again, wait. Before you continue, I want you to look at the comment on screen. Whoa. You good? What was that? Okay, anyway, I want you to look at the comment on screen, which echoes something I said earlier. Well, I assumed he was doing all this to get with her in the first place, and yes, throughout the relationship. Remember what I said about he never cared about, you're making this connection where the kids are attached to the woman, which is true. They're attached to the woman, but it's like you're not providing for these kids to impress this woman. You're not providing to do something for this woman. Obviously, you are. That is a part of it. But a separate part is you are doing this because these are your children. Would you say he's taking care of his child? Forget the stepchildren for a second. Would you say that the reason he's taking care of his child is because he's in a relationship with her, and once he leaves the relationship with her, he no longer has to take care of his biological child? No, I doubt you would say that. So why would you say that about the stepchildren?
Because like I said before, those are not his responsibility. Those kids.
Okay, there you go. That is my issue. That is my issue. Those aren't my kids biologically. Why do I have to take, like, my whole point in the first place was he does not have a genuine connection with these. No, first, I'm not going to let you get away with that, because you just said once you get in that relationship, you assume responsibility for those kids and you start taking care. You assume those are your kids. Those kids are not attached to that woman. You should not be assuming those are your kids because you're in a relationship with that woman. Never mind. I think this is a, what's the word? I think we have a difference of opinion about how you should treat stepchildren and whether or not they should be attached, whether or not your care for them should be attached to the mother, which I don't think it should. It sounds like you do think it should, but again, I don't want to. We're having like 30-minute conversation on the McDonald's argument that I said I do not want to have today. I said I didn't. Hey, you just.
We definitely got to get that one out, because I think
you're cutting out. You sound like a robot to me. But I want to go all the way back and say, where is it? Hey, Kenny, I see you over here. I didn't forget about you. I see all of you, all 11. We broke 10, guys. Yeah, you are cutting out. You might want to try and leave and come back in. Once you come back in, I'm going to dead that conversation and continue what I was addressing in the live before you joined. Or can you speak now? Is your mic working right? You're muted. Okay, we're gonna watch some more chat. I done lost my train of thought. Keep it going, I'll rejoin. Okay, Keith said he'll rejoin. Hopefully I can get him up to speed on what we were discussing in the live, but sheesh.
Also, it's not a man you would want to be with.
Exactly. That's true. Yes.
All right. So let's stop pretending that this man is doing anything good.
I'm not saying he's doing anything.
Damn. Key's gone. I should have asked. I was going to ask Key what you would do in this situation, and do you find his behavior acceptable, which I'd like to know, because Key said, hey, if you're not in a relationship, why would you be taking care of them kids? So I want to know his thoughts on that.
Anything good. I'm just saying he was not obligated to do anything. So I think there is like a difference in which.
And again, the word obligated, man, I'll be pausing too much. But the word obligated, again, this conversation that we've been having is about the fact that this man is doing the bare minimum. She acknowledges he's doing the bare minimum and he should be doing more, but she's not going to police him. And then Key just came on, of course, and he's like, again, the bare minimum is fine. His obligation isn't with the kids. Why would he do that? So again, the theme of tonight is, why are we okay with accepting the bare minimum for men? And why didn't these ladies admit it? Like, just admit it. Just say you're coddling them, which is fine. I say it all the time. He said, fuck them kids. Yeah, he said, fuck them kids and fuck this live. He got out of here.
We were thinking everybody operates and should operate on our same moral compass. And I don't necessarily think people should have to. I
don't think they should have to, but I think we should raise the bar. And so I'm not willing to lower my
expectations. I think you should just not deal with those people.
Yeah, true. But I'm not willing to, even if we're saying we're not going to deal with those people, because we're not. But I'm not willing to lower the bar, because I don't think it's just a difference of opinion. I think it's actually lowering the bar. I'm not willing to lower the bar. No, you're going to have to climb up and beat it.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see where you're coming from.
Stevens, can I push back a little bit on the ghetto comment that Malik made?
Vitamin, why would you write this comment and not come up here and say what I'll be trying to say, but better? Because you using the keyword leverage, finesse, discard when it's no longer absentee. You just saying everything I want to say, but you're articulating it so much better. Vitamin Q, by the way, Themis did, like I said in the Discord, Themis did drop a reference to your book, which just awakened this epiphany in me. Maybe it comes up soon and I don't have to say it. But he was discussing the kind of section where you talk about how single moms have this low self-esteem, particularly in the Black community. After they have a child, there's kind of a diminishing of self-esteem. And when we look at this live stream, for example, where the women are coming in and dragging these single mothers, you're having 4 kids. Wow. Why would you? When you look at something like Sierra, a woman who became a single mother to Future's child, to her and Future's child. And after she moved on and decided to do better and get a good man, which she found in Russell, you'd think there would be celebration and uplifting, right? But no, the Black community collectively drags her. It's like, you're a single mom, you're leftovers, and you're over 35. You don't deserve Russell. You only want Russell now that Russell needs to move on and find him a good woman. It's like this constant slandering of you, not only if you're a single mother. I think it's Black girls in general, but especially if you have a child and the child father left you. There's like this constant slandering that you go through all of your life. And what I was questioning when Themis said what he said about your book is it possible that because Black women go through so much slandering whenever they have a child, and again, the man leave them and they are blamed for the man leaving them. They're blamed for his action. They're slandered. They're devalued, right? Kevin Samuels literally said, you're leftovers. Nobody wants you anymore. If you're over 35, nobody wants you. If you have a child and the father's not in the life, nobody wants you. It doesn't have to be single mothers. Remember the 6-figure earner who came on his channel. She's in the top 5% of earners. She's an entrepreneur. She has a PhD. And for all of that value and contribution that she provides to the world, and specifically to the Black community, he reduced her to a soundbite. I'm a PhD. It's like, I'm mocking your contribution as a Black woman. And I'm telling you, all of this money you have, all of this contribution you do to society, it doesn't matter. You're average at best. You need to lower your standards. You are a single mother. You are worthless. You are leftovers and nobody wants you. So you need to find you a low value man and accept him and settle. So if this is the rhetoric that these women on the panel were giving to this single mother, this is the rhetoric that Kevin Samuels and the like will give her. This is the type of sentiment that the whole Black community will pile on to this Black single mother. Is it possible that her self-worth is so diminished after facing this type of traumatic degradation every single day that she no longer thinks she's worthy of vetting for a good man? The whole time these women were talking about she needs to pick better, as in the same breath they drag these single moms. How can I feel like I'm worthy of a good man? I don't like men. I'm putting myself in the shoes of the woman. But how can I feel that I'm worthy of a good man if every single day I'm constantly slandered and told that I'm worthless for the man's actions and how he chose to leave me? And this life, which one of them on the panel was like, oh no, birthing babies is beautiful. It's so beautiful how we need to value Black women more for birthing babies. And then she's like, hey, after you birth 2 babies, you're no longer a part of my friend group. Sorry, you're worthless now. You need to do better. Like, hey, Vitamin, good evening. The MacD mother. I don't know what that is, Vitamin. Maybe you can explain. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was muting on the regular YouTube. Hi, Patty. Hi,
Hey,
everybody. I was trying to ask questions, but I'm like, I guess I may as well just go up and ask him the questions so I can get clarity, so I
of
can know
course.
what I'm answering. So you're asking me if it's possible that the mother in that scenario that has the children, my multiple fathers, is in a space where her self-esteem is diminished.
Well, Vitamin, let me clarify. I'm about to break your heart. I have not read your book. I did not know you had a book actually until to this live stream where Themis mentioned it. I didn't even know you had a book. All I
He did
heard,
he
mhm,
did a live with me. If you go back on his page, he did a live with it's like 8 hours long, but I was only there for like
and
5,
we're
I
gonna
think.
watch all 8 hours of it. Don't worry. And we're gonna read the book too. Link it, drop it into the Discord so we can support. But my question was in regards to your book, which again, I didn't read it, so I don't know specifically what you said in it, but it sounds like you were talking about how after Black women have a child, they can go through this kind of self-loathing, or maybe they feel like they have less self-worth after having a child. I'm not sure why you said that, but I was making a comparison between that and how we as the Black community in general treat Black women who have children. Again, there's this slandering, there's this constant dragging from both the men and the women. Even these women who say they're here to help, for most of this 3 hours we were talking about McDonald's, instead of critiquing the man at all, they were critiquing the women. They were critiquing why you got 4 baby daddies, you on welfare, you just out here committing crime, why don't you get a job? Literally was one of the lines. So is it possible, my question, that with all of this degradation that piles on to these Black women, particularly single mothers, can we, is it fair to say they need to pick better, they need to vet better, if we're simultaneously teaching them that they're worth nothing? Is this not psychologically damaging if I'm like shitting on you every single day of your life and telling you you're worthless? When you pick a worthless man, can I blame you for that when I am literally telling you that's what you're worth in the first place? Is that a genuine solution? Pick better.
So you asked a bunch of questions in that one question, but I'll try to pick out as many as I can pick out. So the last question you asked, no, it doesn't help anything when they do that, because it is hard. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm just a woman who's walked this path and has gone through this. And being such, I was in a position where I didn't have children and I was young. And I thought that I had the world at my feet, and I thought that I was smarter than the average bear that I saw around me, doing these things and being in these situations and having these struggles. And then I wasn't that person anymore. And once I was living that reality of having made that mistake, all of that rhetoric that I didn't even know I was absorbing, that I didn't even like, feelings about single mothers and things like that I didn't even realize I felt, became real to me in a way that did diminish my self-esteem. And there were other things that didn't really have anything to do with me being a single mother, things that just had to do with my family history and my identity as having been considered a smart kid and a really someone that was going places. But yeah, making that quote unquote unspeakable mistake did wear on my self-esteem. And it didn't help that I was experiencing things like in the dating pool, stuff like that at the time, because I didn't have access to the manosphere, and I didn't know, these thought patterns that are prevalent within the dating pool and the ideas that are shared around people that had the same circumstances that I had were going on. I just knew I was experiencing a lot of things from the same people. So like going out and dating and feeling like, okay, these people are coming to me and they're being one way when we first talk, but then, it's different after maybe we have sex, or if they figure out they can't have sex with me as easily as they want to, or, you know, whatever like that, without the context of the manosphere, I was very confused. And then once I actually found it, I said, okay, I see why they're treating me this way. And then I could say, okay, no, yeah, you don't get to do that to me. And I shouldn't be feeling so down on myself. And this is why I'm feeling so down on myself. And yes, it does. So kind of to answer one of the questions you asked in there, it does play a big part in it, because especially if you're not really aware that these are widespread, you know, this is a systematic paradigm, you do think it's you. You do think something is wrong with you. You do think you're inherently broken, and you don't realize that it's systemic.
So I have, I guess, two questions, or one question with two separate parts. You said, number one, at first, you didn't know that there are legitimately men out here creating tactics, right? Pickup artistry. How do I manipulate a woman who otherwise would not have sex with me into having sex with me? And how do I be disingenuous, right? The Baby and Danny Lee, and how after they're laid up every night and he meet their parents and she meet his parents and they cuddled every night and they have a child and he cheats. And she's like, what the hell? And he's like, well, I never said we were together, right? This type of disingenuous manipulation tactics that they employ to circumvent your vetting in the first place. You said at first you were unaware of that, which they talked about on the live stream. Sometimes red flags are not apparent. Sometimes you're not experienced. You don't know what to look for in the first place. Sometimes you literally get duped, right? But also, you said after you kind of awoke and you see that this is bad behavior, there was still this type of systemic indoctrination, right? Where it's like what I said about lowering your self-worth and your value as a community that we tend to pile on to Black girls. I don't know how to articulate this question, but what I'm asking is, I don't think, like you initially said, women just do not see red flags and, oh my God, I got completely blindsided. He completely switched up. I do think that happens, and I do think that happens a lot. But I think another major important part of it, like you said, may be a systemic psychological issue, because we have looked at the stats around the degeneracy in the Black community, around absentee fathers and intimate partner violence and sexual assault and etc. So if you are a Black girl growing up in this type of system where your mom is going through this type of abuse, you see that, you normalize it, and maybe, like you said, you can see it. You can see that it's bad now, but still you are psychologically stuck in this cycle of dating men like that, right? Like an abuse victim who apparently go back to their abuser 7 times before they leave, not because they like the abuse, not because they see the red flags and are ignoring them. Well, that does happen, but because there is a legitimate psychological change that mental health specialists study in abuse victims, in sexual assault victims, to where literally they do not think they deserve more than this. They think this is what they're worth. So I don't know if that was a good question. That was more like a statement.
I was about to say, it wasn't a question.
The question is, do you agree?
I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, can I comment on that little situation right there? I promise I won't take it anywhere else, but I just want to comment on that, what you just said.
Okay.
I think instead of a systemic thing, I think it's more cultural based, because when you look at it, right, and you can look at the statistics or look at the numbers, that's not every single culture, like every single race type numbers, right? Those numbers, I think, are drawn to like different races as far as the women that go back multiple times. You know what I mean? I don't think that's an overall view of numbers, unless you're saying that's an overall view of numbers, but I don't think that is what that is. I think it's based on race more strongly than anything. And it's not to degrade any race or anybody. I'm just saying it's like an addiction, right? So addictions are hard to break because when you get so prone to one habit, or you get so prone to doing one thing, any other thing, that even if it puts you in a bad situation, even if it turns everybody off around you, it hurts your family, hurts people around you, right? An addiction will take over mentally, and you will keep doing it and keep feeding it because it makes you feel better. So, and it makes you feel good. So like, I think that's part of what the problem is with some women when they get those guys that, you know, they're doing one thing good, a couple things good that are really good that a woman may not have had before, or something she may not have experienced, you know, or something she may not have ever been used to. And so when the negative things start to happen, things that should drive a woman out and make her leave and make her realize she's worth way more than what she's getting, it's hard to break. Just like an addiction, it's very hard to break, even though everything else that's happening is negative. It's turning people off around her. Her friends are letting her know. Her family's letting her know. But at that point, she's just addicted to whatever she's getting out of that relationship or out of that guy that's making her feel good and making things go right. It's a bad addiction.
I don't disagree with you. I would completely agree with you, but I mostly agree with you. What we spoke about before you hopped on again was the possibility that most of the women who were looking at the McDonald's girl, the women on the panel I was on yesterday, were kind of looking at her in an accusatory way, telling her it's her fault for putting herself in this situation. She has 4 baby daddies. What is she doing? How did she run out of her food stamps so fast? And my argument against that was, maybe I said systemic, you said cultural, but I'm talking specifically about a systemic issue in the Black community. So you can call it what you want to. I think we're talking about the same thing. Maybe due to this systemic reason, like you said, like an addiction, there is this type of lack of self-esteem. There's these, again, every angle is piling in on you of kind of degrading comments, especially when you become a single mother. Maybe there is a legit psychological issue, just like an addiction, that is difficult to break. And it's not just, I'm choosing to have 4 baby daddies because I'm stupid, or because I just like the abuse, or I just ignore the red flags. But maybe there's a legitimate psychological hold on these women, causing themselves to put themselves in this situation over and over and over again. So yeah, I think I would agree with you there.
No, I definitely think we're on the same page.
Okay. I forgot my question, Vitamin Q, but I'm sure it was something like, do you think it is legitimately women are being duped and the red flags are so well hidden and these men are so good at manipulating? Or do you think, like I've been repeating over and over again, and Key too, there is a cultural degradation of Black women that degrades your self-esteem? There's a significant amount of abuse in the community that they grow up around seeing, and they can normalize that, and they think this is what they deserve, this is normal behavior, and they accept it due to a psychological reason that they cannot fight.
Yes, and yes. And I'll tell you why. It's all of those things all together. It's a cocktail, if you will, of circumstances. So for instance, and I'll try to use myself to illustrate that point. So like I said before, I grew up in a 2-parent household. It were my grandparents, but they were married. They were in the same household. I was considered a smart kid and a good kid. I wasn't in the streets. You know, I did get a lot of leeway kind of when I did choose to go out, and I'm not going to act like I was a perfect angel, but I understood the balance of, you know, having to maintain my reputation in terms of being a good child. So I was always careful to like make sure that I didn't go too far to put myself on blast, if that makes sense. But that being said, there wasn't a lot of discussion in my household. There wasn't any discussion in my household about actually navigating male-female relationships. So everything that I was learning about how men and women interact with each other was either coming from media And it wasn't social media at the time when I was growing up, because I'm 36 now. So, you know, just television, music, and my peers. That being said, I had a lot of romanticized ideas about relationships between men and women that weren't rooted in the realities of economics in my community, of the pathology and the societal norms of my community, of knowledge of the way that I was being viewed, because I've never been, you know, skinny. I've always had a little weight on me, and my weight has fluctuated in my life, but just understanding those hierarchies, or being aware of those hierarchies in the minds of boys and men. So understanding where I was and what was expected of me when people looked at me, just not knowing a lot of that stuff. So I'm going out.
Vitamin, real quick, please hold your thought. Key, can you unmute? Can you unmute real quick, Key?
Yeah, what's up?
Now, you understand this is a grown man's channel, right, Key?
Yes, sir.
Do we care about weight around here?
Do we care about weight?
Do we care about weight around here?
I think that's a comical question. I ain't gonna lie. That's a whole different topic I would not get into, but I'm a firm believer whenever I see those dudes comment, they be like, hey, listen, grown men don't care about them stretch marks and, you know, all that weight you put on because you either had kids or you didn't have kids. But either way, we fucking. That's what Cat Williams says. So I'm a firm believer in that.
All right. Yeah, Vitamin, this is a grown man's channel. We do not care about weight around here.
I'm not saying that. I'm not. Please understand that is not coming from a place. Oh, thank you very much, love. That was not coming from a space of like, woe is me. That's me speaking objectively about just having learned that once I got older. Now, I can say, you know, that might have made me look at some things a little differently, but just, it's not about necessarily saying, oh, it's right or it makes sense or anything like that, but still having the knowledge, it may have had me navigate things a little bit differently, more intentionally is what I'm saying. But not knowing that I'm going out into the world thinking I'm just as deserving, just as beautiful as any other woman, but I'm going into an arena where I am being evaluated and rated and you know, and I might not come out where I think I do. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that objectively speaking with the knowledge I have now, not internalizing it at all. But knowing that once I found that out, it made a lot of things make sense to me, because if you talk to me, I don't have the personality, or I don't seem to have the personality of someone who has a lower self-esteem. And I've been alone a lot because I had people approach me, but once they talked to me, they would just kind of dip off. And then, you know, without anything happening. And then I had to realize that I would have required too much. You get more than what they wanted to give, is what I'm saying. And so if I'm going out into a situation thinking everybody's equal and we're just doing what grown-ups do and things like that, not understanding that, oh yeah, this person is saying whatever because they think, basically, like I've had people that I'm dealing with and I'm thinking we're dealing as equals, and I deal with them that way. And then later on I realize, oh, they thought I was just easy because I was desperate. You get what I'm saying? It's like if I knew that about that person, I wouldn't have done that. Does that make sense? You're muted.
Yes, that does make sense. Yes, I was muted. So I have a question pertaining to the live stream. We've acknowledged, you agreed with me that it's a little bit of kind of everything. You even gave your own kind of personal angle to the story. So in a situation like this, where again, this man, in my opinion, is exhibiting below average behavior or bare minimum behavior, and I'm interested in policing him, and he needs to do better, in my opinion. But then we also have, again, just this plethora of women on the live stream who were more interested in policing the woman. What is the solution? Should we be doing both? Again, they used the locked car analogy, and one of them said, hey, if you if you leave your door unlocked, you're entitled or you're narcissistic or something where I don't know. Never mind. Let me not even bring that up. But she brought up the fact that if you leave your car unlocked and someone steals from it, I'm not going to blame you for being stolen from, but I am going to ask you questions about why did you leave your car unlocked? Do you think that part at least is valid?
Me? You're asking?
Yeah. I mean, Q, you can answer too. You're here. Like,
well, there's two, because they ask it in different ways. They sit and they talk about the car being unlocked. Then there's the whole thing of, oh, well, you shouldn't have parked in that neighborhood. But I'm like, well, what if you live in that neighborhood? Are you supposed to park in the suburbs if you live in the hood? Like, that doesn't make sense.
To me, they are the same question. My issue with worrying about, look, if the only way somebody knows your car is unlocked is that they are checking the handle.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, regardless, I have accidentally left my car unlocked because you're just, absent-minded or whatever. But no matter where usually we tend to try to park as close to where we're going to be at. So if that's where I am for whatever reason, then that's where my car needs to be. That's number one. And like you just said, like if they're a thief is going to, thieves going to thieve. You know what I mean? So why should I be beholden to something that someone else is doing when they're doing something that is wrong across the board, objectively, morally, whatever? Why am I being scrutinized for? Because if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When it comes to the car analogy, it's a question about vulnerability. You left yourself in a vulnerable state, so you were asking to get taken advantage of, which, like Moonstone said, that is victim blaming. The focus should not be, sure, we can teach you to lock your door, park in a better place, whatever. Sure, I'm all here for it. Vetting better. Even Themis said, I'm here for it. He's here for it. We want you to vet better. But when that is the focus of the conversation and that person is literally, they said we're not blaming her, but literally, again, 3 hours of talking to this girl about why she should do better. It's like, my issue is not, I need to teach you not to be vulnerable. My issue is I need to teach the community to not take advantage of your vulnerability. Because like you said, why are there so many people in our community going around checking car door handles to see if they're unlocked in the first place? That to me is a more pressing issue than you leaving your car unlocked. In my opinion, we should police again, to me, this is a systemic and cultural issue that we should be policing on a large level and looking at a macro level, which I understand is hard to conceptualize and deal with. And it's much easier to just tell you to lock your doors. But again, the Black community is literally a landmine field for Black women at times. Why am I trying to teach you how to hopscotch around these mines instead of maybe being that I see the people planning the mines, like we know who the thief is, which in the conversation, we knew who the thief was. We see him. And when we have the chance to make him dig up these landmines, it's like, no, why would I hold him to my standard? You just need to learn how to dance around them. So it seemed the whole conversation seems so victim blaming.
Because women like that do get kind of a benefit of it. It's back to that whole idea of femininity and women who are marriageable and women who are fit and feminine and friendly and just this ideal. There is this payoff. We're always talking about, well, we're not always talking about, but nowadays there's a new thing about dopamine hits and things like that and instant gratification and things like that. There is a bit of gratification. If you have someone who, and I don't know that particular girl, but I just feel confident enough based off of the way she was speaking that she may be used to being exalted, amongst men. In terms of, if nothing else, then, oh yeah, it's so refreshing to be around such a feminine woman and that, and all of that type of thing. So if you're dancing well, you know, when other people are falling and getting their arms blown off, is just that kind of, again, it's not being a community of just saying, hey, well, I'm doing okay, why aren't you doing okay? But you don't know that there's a rock up ahead that you're about to trip on and fall. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about. Was it the girl who at some point said, I would never be anyone's baby mama?
She didn't say it at some point. She said it at many points. She just kept saying it. And even when she was answering the question, she made sure to reiterate that, oh, well, this would never be me anyway. But, you know, and it's just like, we know it's a hypothetical. We understand. But just that need to differentiate themselves and say, hey, I'm better. I'm different. I wouldn't. You know, I don't know about y'all, but
I'm different from you ghetto girls. I have standards. I was like, wow. No, I asked her at some point, are you telling me this is what I said verbatim? Or I could just play the video if y'all want to see it. But I said verbatim, it sounds like what you're saying is these black women are dumb and they need to pick better. They're choosing to pick bad on purpose. Really? You didn't see the red flags? And she was like, yep, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm gonna say something, and it may be surprising to you initially, but just follow me here. In a sense, yes, me and others who have the same experiences as I have, we have chosen badly, and we have been in a pattern of, you know, not choosing correctly. However, and this is what I was speaking to last night, the issue with me is that those that are saying that type of thing, and like even her saying it, she's not saying it to like sit and take your hand and say, hey, you know, might you want to kind of evaluate these things and kind of ask some questions. It's more so of a definitive, oh, you failed. You continue to fail, and you have no right to aspire to more or require any more because you failed before. And that's where, you know, we diverge. There is a such thing as, you know, course correction. And so my issue is not that single mothers and black women in general don't have things to work on. My issue is that when people are speaking on our flaws, they're not speaking in a way to kind of say, well, come here and let's sit down and break this down and figure out why you're doing this and see if we can't get back on track. They're doing it to say, look, hang it up. You did bad. You deserve less. You deserve this. How dare you question me? How dare you question him? And it's something to do with, even when it was really telling for me, like when they started talking about if she was with that man. And I think a lot of women don't like the idea of, oh, there's another woman. You'll see it all the time. It'll be like a man and he moves on with the new bright, shiny woman. And then the other woman is in the background with his children. And then this idea of like, oh, well, she's just a bitter baby mom and she should have never even thought this. And she was never anything like the woman he picked. It's clear why he picked her. And it's just all this, these hierarchies. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. You're not talking about Danny Lee and Sierra, are you?
I'm talking about anybody. It could no. I'm talking about, let's say, for instance, like, what's her name? G Herbo, and then he got with Tyena, and then, you know, her name is Aries. Ari or something like that. You get what I'm like, but that kind of dynamic where it's like, oh, well, she's a baby mama and she should know her place, and you know, she's not as classy and she deserved it because she didn't maneuver it right, and that's why he picked this one instead of her. But you know what I mean? And just these understandings, but there's no questions being asked of, well, whatever she is now, she was before, so why was he with her if he's so much better than her?
I'm almost certain you are talking about either Danny Lee or Sierra when she was with Future. I'm almost certain.
I'm talking about any and every woman who fell into that category in whichever place. I don't have any one particular person in mind. I just highlighted see it. But yeah, it is kind of like that. It's like, okay, before the fall, I call it the fall, like when a woman has a baby out of wedlock or whatever, before the fall, it's just like, okay, it is what it is, whatever. But then once it happens, it's just like, oh, well, you bought it, it's on you, it's right that he discards you. How stupid are you should have never. But like, we even saw when somebody posted Daddy Lee and him on the bed, and he's just like, I love, I call it volunteering lies, just unprovoked. You know what I mean? And how that happens to women so much, where it does require, any relationship requires vulnerability. And so you are going to make yourself emotionally vulnerable to someone, because who doesn't want to be loved? But then when that happens, and then that person gets to jump, the man gets to jump all the way back out and say, oh, you knew what it was. If I knew what it was, why would you ever say it was something different?
I'm gonna have to agree. And I want to put an interesting perspective. At least it's interesting to me, but I just want to put it out there and see what y'all think about this, right? And I'll use that lady with her 4 baby daddies. Prime example, right? And like you said, women get into a relationship, anybody gets into the relationship, right? And you're expecting things to go well. You're not getting into a relationship expecting things to go bad. That's a very odd mindset to be in. So if you get into a relationship, like you said, you explain that vulnerability, you decide, all right, this person's serious about me. That's what they're showing me, because people do it, men and women. That's what they're showing me. You know what I mean? I'm going to take it to that next step. So you have a woman who 100%, she believes in the Lord. She believes in her faith. These are the things she believes in, right? She lays down, she sleeps with a man. They're married. She believes in it that far. They get married and they, sleep together. They end up having a kid. That man decides he doesn't want to have a kid. He's out. He leaves. He divorces her. She doesn't believe in it, but she don't really get a whole lot of choice. He leaves. She's now a single mother to a child. It takes her a while to recover. She gets into another relationship. That relationship goes a little bit rocky because of what she experienced before, but she finds that vulnerability again. She gets in love. She gets married. She has another child. He decides he doesn't want a child. He leaves. She's now stuck with 2 children, with 2 baby daddies, and she's now a baby mother of 2 kids. Who looks worse in that situation? Now, right, in perspective, like you said, Vitamin, you have all these women who are now about to put her in a category of, wow, you're a baby mother with 2 different baby daddies. Whenever they don't know that, or maybe they do know, and they're not acknowledging that she was in love with these 2 men and married to 2 men who put on one scene, put on one act, acted one way up until that point, and then jumped ship and left. So I agree with what you said completely. It's really sad to see, and especially for women with women and women on women, it's very sad to see that women are not diving deeper into the situation and providing more support. You know what I mean? For other women that are possibly put in bad situations, like she didn't set out to be a baby mother. Nobody goes out there like, I hope I have a kid with this guy and he just leaves me independent and single to take care of a kid. Now, if they do, I mean, it's very weird, but I mean, there may be women out there like that. I won't discard it, right? There may be women like that, but it's very rare. So it's sad to see some women, you know what I mean, not supporting these other women like they need to be supported, because they're not shooting out here to be baby mothers. They're shooting out here to build families. If they believe they want to build families and they have a guy acting like and telling them they want to build a family, and then they start that process, i.e. having a kid, getting married, and then the guy ups and leaves, the situation doesn't work out. It looks really bad on her part, because now she's got kids with multiple men, but at the same time, she didn't set out to do that. So, I mean, I agree with what you said. It's kind of sad, though.
Y'all can continue talking. I am going to reset the topic for the people who are just coming in. Vitamin, let me find you typing in the comments and you up here. You better, what? Let me find out.
I always do that.
Hello, Bawumb. I don't know what BWMMB means. I think that's Tiffany.
That's Tiff.
What does that mean? Black women make me bleed.
Black
Y'all
woman
fighting?
minding my business.
Oh, of course, as you should. Wait, no, that's not my place to tell black women what to be minding. So Tiff is in here, and hello to Jazzy as well. Thank you guys for coming to support. And to reset the topic, we were discussing the live stream that Themis had Tuesday. And on the latter half of the conversation, Themis made a critical mistake. He brought up the McDonald's issue with the woman and her baby daddy. And that turned into a 3-hour discussion that we've been talking about. During that 3-hour discussion, there were 3 women in particular who I've been discussing who, as opposed to holding the man to a higher standard that we all agreed we hold ourselves to, we all agreed if we were in a relationship, we would hold our partner to that standard. But when it came to holding him to that standard, they were like, it's not up to me to hold him to my standard. But again, when they were talking about the woman, remember, this was a 3-hour long conversation. They had plenty to say about the woman's dating choices, the fact that she had 4 kids, the fact that she ran out of food stamps too fast, the fact that blah, 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 blah. She threw the McDonald's away. They had a lot of critique for the woman's morals, which I think most of us agreed with. Well, not everything that they said. Obviously, it was getting a bit classist, in my opinion, and these poor people are just on welfare and need to pull the bootstraps up. But as far as their critique on her behavior regarding how she throw the food out that her kids need and how she talked to this man in such a disrespectful way while requesting he do more, we all agreed he should do more, but we also all agreed that she was disrespecting him. So we held her to a moral standard. Okay, cool. We're in agreement. We tried to hold him in a moral standard. The one woman in particular on the panel said it's not her business what he does. It's not her business to hold him to the moral standards. But there was also this claim that she's holding them equally accountable when, again, one of them she is completely comfortable with talking about for 3 hours in length, and the other one, shoulder shrug, nothing we can do about him. Men gonna be men. Not up to me to hold him to my standard. So that felt disingenuous to me, and that's what we were here to discuss, as well as the kind of condescending nature in which they spoke about the woman, her dating choices, and the fact that she had Jenny Bean. Yeah, she did say middle class starts at $22,000 a year. She did bring out a pen and paper and calculator, and she actually on stream was about to break down to us why $20,000 a year is actually a median wage, like a middle class median wage. She was about to break it down for us before Themis stopped her. Thank God. Actually, I really wanted to know the math. I really wanted to know. As a matter of fact, let me share my screen. Let's bring up a calculator, guys. How much doesn't your rent have to be? What, you have to make 3 times as much monthly?
Yeah.
So what is your rent like?
3 times as much a month as the rent is in order to qualify.
Let me find out these middle class people out here living in a $150 apartment. Nothing wrong with living there, by the way. I just don't think that's middle. Anyway, has anyone spoken about the 3 kids?
That is possible, but it's only possible if you're on public housing, which, you know,
no, they better get off of that. With
exactly.
Hell no.
Exactly.
She just gonna have to starve. What about the kids? It's like they just wanted to drag the woman. They don't care about the kids.
They did, because you're thinking about, okay, you're saying, oh, she needs to be accountable for her choices. She made choices. And then meanwhile, you're talking about her choices and these kids are starving to death. I mean, you know, in this hypothetical situation. So you're not just talking about her choices. And like I said, when I did my live last week about it, everybody's so focused on either punishing the woman or the fact that it's not fair to appease the woman. But it's not about appeasing the woman. It's about feeding the children. And if that happens, if the woman gets appeased in the midst of the children getting fed, well, oh well, but at least the children were fed. You know what I mean? But that shouldn't be the focus. So they're more committed to this idea of making sure that she doesn't benefit than they are to making sure that kids go to bed with full stomachs.
I think the reason it's difficult to have a conversation about this is because she was rude and she was unreasonable, in my opinion, throwing the food away and like screaming and cursing at this man. So for you to come to her defense, I'm not saying we're coming to her defense. We are. I am. I don't know about y'all. It looks unsightly because of her behavior.
Well,
And
can I ask you I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to ask you a question. Let's say you had a child, and you just one child. You don't even need to have multiple children, but you just have a child, and you are on the playground with your child, right? And your child is playing and doing whatever. They're not doing anything bad in particular. And then another child comes along, and you are sitting there, and you see this other child pushing your child or whatever, treating your child badly. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to go to the parent and say, hey, your child is doing something, doing this to my child. And then the parent says, fuck your child. You know what I mean? My kid does what they want. They shouldn't be in their way. Blah, 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 blah. What are you going to do?
Petty, please hurry up, because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to say something that's going to make everybody very upset with me. And I'm firmly okay with that, but I'm going to just tell y'all right now, it's going to make y'all upset. You want me to say what I'm going to say?
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna just tell you straight up. I'm gonna just tell you straight up, and I feel really bad that this is my mindset and my thought process. But I'm gonna say it like this: if I come to you, mature and very respectful, and let you know that your kid is not treating my kid the way I would like for other kids to treat my kid, and your answer to me is F my kid, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to react well to that. Because of the simple fact, to me, that's disrespect. And I was never taught how to tolerate disrespect growing up. So I don't know how to tolerate disrespect. So whatever my reaction is from there, you're just going to have to forgive me. It might be hands. I might go slap your kid. I might punch your kid. I might hurt you and your kid. I don't know how I'm going to react. You know what I mean? I'm in a mindset right there. You just disrespected me, something that I don't know how to tolerate well. So now I have to react however my body tells me to react. And I'm sorry, but your kid might be involved in some extreme corporal punishment along with you because of your word choice at that very moment.
Well, thank you very much for that. And that's exactly, that's not anything we would be upset with, because that's the point I'm making. And what I feel like, because people are committed to this idea that she is not in a position to have any kind of ill will or ill feelings towards him, what they're not looking at is the fact that he's asking of her to say that her other 3 children don't deserve to eat, and that she should be okay with him lifting up this one child in front of these other children like he's Simba from the Lion King, and that she even is supposed to take that on and sit them down and say, well, I should have done better. I should have chosen better. So you guys can't eat tonight, but little Rafik is going to have McDonald's, okay? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I get that for sure.
I actually didn't think about the fact that there may be prior engagement between them that may make her act with animosity. And I didn't think about the fact that, when you think about it, he is asking you to value one of your children over the rest. And what I would have done probably is cut that burger up in 4 and split them fries. But I do understand if there was a reaction to this very insulting notion that my kid is more important than my other kids. I don't care about them now that we broke up. So, thank you for that perspective. I'm not going to beat up the children. I'm not going to go.
Yeah, I seen the comments, and that's why I said it was going to make people upset. I should have left out the slapping the kids part, but the extreme corporal punishment, I'm not going to use that out. But I would feel bad in the way that I reacted afterwards for sure. But I just don't feel like people should feel like they can just disrespect you at any point. You know what I mean? Without any kind of response to that.
Well, that's my thing. They feel like she can't be disrespected because she's a single mother with 4 kids with different dads. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not possible to disrespect her because she's a single mother with multiple baby fathers.
Right, and that's why I was saying it earlier. Yeah, I feel like it's actually sad because it's very, very possible to disrespect her, regardless if she's a single mother with 1 baby daddy to 4 kids or 4 baby daddies for 4 different kids. You know what I mean? It's still very possible to disrespect her, and I do think that it happened. In that particular situation, I feel like the father was out there he wasn't necessarily trying to expose her. I think he was trying to find a level of accountability, within her, and what she was doing, that it just happened in the wrong way. Because if you pay close attention to the video, you see the part where he asked about the other kids' fathers, like, hey, where are their fathers at? You know what I mean? And there was no response from the woman. She never addressed that, almost as if she didn't hear it. So
yeah, but I'm sorry, but I just have a question. Like, where were they when he was sliding up in there? I doubt they were around then. You get what I'm saying? Like, why are you looking for something to happen now that probably wasn't happening? Because she said he was doing for them when he first came around. So I would assume they wasn't around. So again, why are you now trying to hold her accountable for something that didn't matter when you were benefiting?
For sure. And the only reason, I'm not trying to defend him solely, I'm really not, but this is what I see in that situation, right? And what you're saying makes complete sense. But, right, how do we know that that was not a part of his reasoning for leaving that woman? And as shallow as it may seem, because it may be shallow, and in a slight sense it kind of is, but that could have been part of his reasoning. Hey, like, I got into a relationship with this woman. I understand she had 3 kids. I understand that. But in my initial thinking, this was going to go differently. This was going to be different. I expected these fathers to step up and help and take care of their kids or whatever. All the while, his child developed and came along, right? Now it's 4 kids. I really financially don't want to be responsible for 4 kids. You know what I mean? I just don't want to be responsible for 4 kids with no help. I don't feel like this is a situation I want to be in, right? And all the while that's developing, he leaves. So I'm not trying to defend him, but I'm saying that could be part of his reasoning. And so now, with him being gone and him being out of that situation, you know what I mean? He no longer feels responsible for all 4 kids. He no longer feels responsible for the 3 other kids that are not his, because he chose to get out of that particular situation of being responsible for 4 kids. He chose to get out of that situation and realize, if I'm not involved with her, I'm not responsible for those other 3 kids. I'm just responsible for my child. So in my mindset, in my mind, I'm thinking that's part of like his thinking. And like I said, it came out very different and very wrong in their argument, but that's just part of what would play off in my head.
I totally get that. That is true. But let's look at it like this. It takes 9 months to gestate a baby if it goes full term, right? So let's say, I'm not even going to say they were together for a long time. Let's say that he literally came around and he was around for maybe a week to a month before he started hitting, right? And that she got pregnant right away. So the full time of him figuring out that these fathers weren't around for these kids was just the time it took for her to gestate and then deliver this baby. But the narrative is always, well, you should have got to know him first before you laid down with him, correct?
That's true.
So then why isn't the narrative, you should have got to know what her situation was before you put your sperm in her? You get what I'm saying? Like, there, for every argument you make, I'm not ever going to sit and try to say that these things people say about single mothers aren't true. They're valid questions. My question is, why don't they ask the same questions of the men? And the men can literally do the bare minimum, and everyone's ready to jump down the woman's neck.
Which is very true. And I would agree with that, because that's not ever something that is brought up. And I know that's part of why Petty likes to hold men way more accountable, you know what I mean, than he does anybody else, especially black men. But I think that's part of it, because, like I said, when men do what they are supposed to do, you have kids, you're a husband, whatever, and they do just what they're supposed to do. Nothing extra, just, hey, when you're in a marriage, you've committed to this woman fully, do what you're supposed to do. When you're a father of kids, you do what fathers of kids do. And they do that. Men get a level of praise that, if you ask me, being a father of a young kid, like, sometimes it's a little bit too much. Sometimes people are giving you a little bit more credit than, or giving you a little bit more praise, I'll just say, not credit. They're giving you more praise than you probably are entitled to, because you're just doing what you should do as a father. You know what I mean? Or you're doing what you should do as a husband. But anytime, and I'll say this to defend men, anytime a man slacks to do what he's supposed to do in the slightest, the slander is unbearable. It does not stop.
I
And for
vehemently,
women,
I vehemently
unfortunately,
disagree. I vehemently disagree with that
I
statement.
do not. I would like to understand. I would like to hear that actually. Why you disagree when you think? And listen, to what I said. If men fall off in the slightest on doing what they're supposed to do immediately, like they're like, hey, like I'm in a break between jobs, finances are tight, I'm in a tight spot. Can you help me out until I can recover, until I can get back on my feet? I feel like in that situation and anything going forward, men get bad treatment, the malicious
You're-
treatment
Are
in
you
that
talking about?
situation.
Are you talking about men's lives in general, or men's lives as it relates to childcare?
As it relates to childcare, like being a father.
Have you ever heard of the single mother problem in America?
But definitely.
Okay, there is no single mother problem in America. The fact that a man will abandon his child and abandon his woman, and she will be blamed for that, and it will be stated as a single mother issue as opposed to an absentee father issue, is proof that we do not hold men accountable when it comes to their children. The fact that, like we discussed on my last live stream, if you remember, when we were watching that clip from Blackish or something like that, and how parents will literally high five their sons when it comes to them losing their virginity early in their age. Whereas when it's their daughter, they will be chastising her because the daughter has this expectation and this kind of, what is it? These standards that the boys don't have to raise the child if they become pregnant. Whereas the boys, again, we're high fiving because you just had sex. If there's a child, we're not even thinking about the fact that the man will have to care for the child for 16 years. When discussing childcare in general in the United States, at least, I don't know how it is all over the world, there is definitely a onus on the woman, not the man. There is an expectation for the woman to be a good mother to her children, not the father. I will always disagree with you on that issue.
I don't disagree with him.
You know what? I do appreciate that. I appreciate that outlook and that opinion. But I would have to say I'm going to disagree with that because I think there's an expectation on both parts. So is there a higher expectation on the mother to be a good mother than there is on the father to be a good father? Is there a higher expectation? Probably slightly. And only reason I say a slightly higher one is because typically, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, the mother's going to have custody of that child. Whether it be full or majority, she's going to have custody of that child. So she's slightly more expected to be a good mother simply because she's the primary parent, right? So is that because fathers are not going out fighting to be primary parents of their kids? Or is that because fathers just don't want to be primary parents of their kids and they're cool with being, joint custody, have their time, mother has her time. They're cool with that. They're cool with not being the primary parent. So I think there may be a slight increase in expectance for mothers to be good mothers. But will I just outright say every time mothers are expected to be better mothers than fathers are expected to be good fathers? I can't agree.
I don't know about that last statement he made, but in terms of resources and help for fathers. So I was speaking on my live about how me and my girlfriends who were fellow single mothers would come together and like pool our resources. Sometime if one of us had a little more than the other, then we would step in and say, oh, you need some money for the, okay, here, you take this. And then the next thing you know, if you're falling short, then they got you and stuff like that. I feel like because there's so much of a push of an idea of the single mother problem, that there are more resources both in the government. So, not welfare. I think welfare is more so thought of. Like when I was on welfare and I would go to the welfare office, you would mostly see women. But sometimes you would see families, the man and the woman and the children. But very rarely would you just see a man. You know what I mean? And I think, though, too, that is a cultural thing that men probably need to work on, creating spaces and calling, basically, like if you build it, they will come. Advocacy for single fathers to be able to come and feel comfortable in that nurturing role and say, hey, we need to form a brotherhood around parenting the same way women have formed a sisterhood around parenting. You get what I'm saying? Because for the women, it's like, well, we see so much of these, like Petty was saying, men leaving women with the kids, and we're in our minds, it's just like when we see a man wanting some help, it's like, well, you're just trying to take from me too. You get what I'm saying? Like, I can hear your baby in the background. You know how many people have multiple kids and you will never talk to them on the phone on any given day and hear their children? You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I see, I would have a very hard time disagreeing with that. Even though obviously it semi sort of goes against some of the things I said, but no, I definitely would agree with all of that, because it's true. It's true. Men don't have, and you know, another thing that's sad to say, like I spoke on the woman part, I'll speak from the men part, right? Men don't have that that level of accountability in them. And I know I'm speaking as a man. They don't have that level of accountability in them that if I see another man, even if it's your boy, right? You know what I'm saying? They see that bros being a less than father. And when I say a less than father, I mean less than he should be, not than he needs to be, because meeting the needs is not always going to work. Meeting the needs is not always enough. Doing everything you can is what's enough. Doing everything you can is what you should do, just because you're doing what you have to do, right? So even if they see that on their bros that they hang out with on a day-to-day basis, they don't speak like, hey, bro, you know, you could do more than what you're doing. You could step up and help that woman out. She's breaking her back to take care of that kid and those kids because she has to do that, while you're over here living an easier life, you know what I mean? Because you only doing what you have to do, and that does not put any kind of strain on you. And men don't look at other men, even if it's their bros, and they don't pull them up to that accountability level. But women, and I've seen this firsthand, women, like you said, have that sisterhood of, if women are not doing everything they can for children, or they're not doing, you know, what they should for their kids, regardless, they do get held to a different standard. Like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And women will step up and say that to other women, especially women that they're close with. And so it's really sad to see from a man's perspective.
Do you remember, Key, earlier in this live, like near the beginning, when okay, first of all, I think you're both answering two different questions. One question is, are there good resources for men? Which I agree, not really. That's actually what I talked about with Themis Tuesday. I agree with you there. The other is there a cultural expectation for men to take care of their children? Even in your answers, Key, I'm thinking about yours in particular, in which this man just doing a terrible job of taking care of his kids, and other men don't call him out. They kind of just shrug their shoulders. Or in this example that we've been talking about all day of McDonald's, where this man, instead of providing for all four of these children, only wanted to give to one. And the response online has been to drag the woman, drag her character, drag her choice in men. Nobody is concerned about that man and, you know, the fact that he's doing the bare minimum. So back to what we talked about at the beginning of the live. Remember, I told you there are resources for men, and the system even benefits men who want to take care of their children, who, for example, want to go to court and get custody. They are more than 90% chance likely to do so. But again, only 8% of them go. I think you guys are posing it as the reason men are not expected to do something is because there are no resources for them to be able to do so, while women do have the resources. Well, my opinion is the reason there are no resources is because men don't care to do so in the first place, and they don't have that expectation in the first place.
That's what I would say. I was agreeing with him that yes, for someone like him, it may feel like that there's no help but to your point, because there aren't enough men making it necessary. So I was agreeing with the both of you guys, like, no, they don't get held to the same standards per se, but for someone who is actually trying to be a good parent, I've always felt like from very early on that being a good parent, you're always going to feel like you're not. You're always going to feel like you're behind. You're always going to feel like there's more you can do. So listening to him, it sounds like, you know, and this is just me, I'm going off vibes here, but I feel like he means to be a good parent. And so he is invested in parenting, whatever that may bring. But a lot of dudes, like he said, aren't invested in it and aren't going to check their friends who aren't invested in it. You know what I mean? So because there's no real need for advocacy for those fathers because they're not standing up and saying, hey, we need it. Hey, we do need to be, we as a collective need to be better. You're kind of floating out there as an island. Does that make sense?
Yes, but
Yeah,
even
I would
in
definitely
this,
say that. And I don't know if I sounded like, and I could see where you're coming from, Petty. I don't know if I sounded like I was saying it as in there's no resources. So I'm gonna give an example of what I was trying to say because I think this will clear it up for sure, right? In Oklahoma specifically, right? There's a program where they focus on single dads, right? They focus on single fathers, and it's a free program, right? They can provide transportation, you know, up to whatever distance, whatever they could afford. They do everything possible to get you into this program to help you understand life as a single father because it comes from other single fathers that created this, right? Ones that actually did hold their friends accountable, and now they created this program. So it's geared towards single fathers, but they do everything possible. Transportation, food's provided, it's free. And since you're attending this program, you know what I mean, for 4 weeks, if you attend all 4 weeks, they give you like a few $100s, right? Just for attending this program. And the only requirement that they have for this program is that you have to bring another first-time single father with you to the program when you start. That's the only requirement that they have. And do you know that it's very sad that they have never had a full session? They have never been full because, and you can't tell me there's not enough single fathers. Even in the small places of Oklahoma, there's enough single fathers. It's just sad because there's not enough single fathers that are holding other single fathers accountable to a level that, hey, bro, I know you're a single father and I know you may be out here struggling. You may not be out here doing what you should do, or you may not be out here doing enough, right? Let's go get this help we can get and get this free help on top of that. You know what I mean? Even if you just show up saying you're showing up for the money, it's the fact that you're actually showing up and you look like you're putting forth that effort. You may end up getting something out of that without even meaning to. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by when I say, like, there's resources available for sure. It's just the lack of accountability between two different single fathers who may or may not know each other. So they're not even trying to get the help.
And there is something here in Philly. I think it's called the Single Dad Project or the Five Dad Project or something like that. I see the billboard for it when I'm driving, but I remember seeing that, and I remember telling my youngest father about that. And he never. And mind you, he had 2 children before I got with him, and then I had my daughter, and then he went on to have, at that time, he had like 2 or 3 children after me. And I was, of course he was under the gun. And I'm just like, well, look, why don't you go holler at them and see what they can help you with, and he never did.
The reason I brought up the custody statistics earlier, Key, is because I had a conversation with a father of, I think, 5 children on Facebook by accident. There was some post, and basically the post was trying to hold men accountable for abandoning their children. And again, like I said in the beginning of the live, instead of the men going in the comments to be accountable, there was mostly whining. Oh, she don't let me see my kids. She's trying to keep the kids away from me. And I'm like, did you go to court or did you just get on Facebook to whine? Well, you know how paternity court or whatever, family court doesn't benefit the man. It's in the woman's favor. No, it's not. I linked them to some data regarding family court in their state, in their particular state, I think Georgia. And I was like, if you look at this data, what it shows is that when you go to court, when men go to court, they are extremely likely to get joint or full custody of their child. There is no discrimination in the system. And if it is, it benefits you. You are discriminated in favor of. So there is no reason for you to whine on Facebook about your baby mom does this, your baby mama does that, if you are not doing the work in person to get custody of your child, if this situation is bad like you say it is. His response was very lackluster. Maybe I'll put the screenshots on the screen, but he was like, I already take care of my 4 kids with this girl and my baby mama keeping the kids away from me and making it difficult. So I haven't ever seen them. They're 4 years old. And I was like, what do you mean keeping them away? Basically, she lives 10 minutes away, and he wanted her to bring them to him instead of him drive 10 minutes. That's what was keeping him away from his kids, a 10-minute drive for 4 years. I said, okay, why didn't you go to court 4 years ago? Because his excuse for why he won't go now is because he doesn't want to ruin or cause commotion in the household with the mom. Now that they've grown up without him, he doesn't want to be a home wrecker in his own home, whatever. So I said, what about 4 years ago? Why didn't you go to court then? Again, he gave me this, oh, the court doesn't benefit the monetary cost. And I just don't have the time because I have my other 4 kids. And I was like, okay, you got on Facebook to whine and cry about your baby mama when, again, like I said in my original comment before he even replied to me, it seems like these men are just getting online to whine and they don't actually go to court for custody. And he literally played into exactly what I was talking about. So it's not a lack of resources. Maybe, again, there is this misconception that men are discriminated against so much in paternity court, and it's just so not in their favor. But again, the data does not suggest that. But maybe he was just unaware. So I made him aware of the data. I gave him resources to where he can look into how to get a low-cost lawyer to get custody of your children. But ultimately, to me, again, it wasn't about the fact that it'll take time, it'll take money, and it'll take a court case or a court battle. It's about the fact that you don't have it in you to do anything more than whine on Facebook about your baby mama. You don't actually care about those kids, or you would be in court. No, he has never seen them, Nia X, ever. They live too far, 10 minutes down the street. I looked up the city he was in. The city he is in is about 15 minutes wide. His children could not have been, based on what he was saying, more than 15 minutes away from him at any given moment, probably 5 to 10 minutes, more realistically, unless he and his baby mama literally lived on opposite sides of the town. So it's not a lack of resources. And like you both said, even when I tell them about these resources that maybe they did not have knowledge of prior to, there's always this excuse, and there's always this lack of accountability. There's a lack of effort. No, the money, the time it'll take, I have to work. So I don't know that I can, it doesn't sound like, I'm not saying either of you are doing this. Actually, it seems like you're both doing the opposite. But I don't know that I can find any other excuse to give these men. I've given you the resources. I've given you the knowledge and the know-how. I've given you the low-cost alternative. I've given you a site where it explains how to get custody of your children in a timely manner if you have schedule constraints. You refuse to, in favor of whining. There's always an excuse. What's up, Key? You were about to say something.
I just wanted to throw this out there to speak on the court situation, right? And I've never tried to do it because I have an active working parent to work with, so it's not a big deal, right? But I will say this, and it's sad because I know lawyers, a few or whatever, and then I know a judge also, and this is what really how they base this off of and how they see it. It's sad because it has become so culturally and societally, whatever, so systemically normal that fathers would rather not be there and not take care of their children than to go and try to fight for their kids. Like they would rather not be there and not try at all than to go fight for them, right? So that's become the norm. But mothers are known to put forth extreme effort to be there and to care for their kids at any situation, right? And whatever it takes. So that is kind of the reasoning and why it's so easy in the courts for fathers to go and win for their children, because the courts are really they're really sick of seeing absent fathers, and they're really sick of seeing, mothers struggling because they're alone. So they really do side in the favor of fathers because they know this, right? And this is what they know. Even if the father wins custody, primary, whatever, the mother's going to do what she's got to do to get there, to be there for the kid. They know that because it's become so normal of women to do that. And it is not normal for men. So that's really sad that the courts are designed that way, because they understand and they know, like you said, it's like a 90% rate, and that's not a lie, for fathers to be able to win that situation. But it's an 8% rate of fathers that are trying to win that situation. It's crazy.
You want to know kind of my experience with court, and then Vitamin you can go to if you wanted to. But my experience with men in court, and this is anecdotal, is usually when they go to court, the judge is looking at certain things: who raises the child, who's around the child more, who sets up the child's doctor appointments, etc. And again, we've been discussing on my channel a lot the fact that women have this kind of societal expectation to be caregivers to the child, even as we're trying to move to equality and women are paying more bills and going 50-50. There's still an unequal share of housework and childcare going to the woman. So since the woman is taking care of domestic duties, if you ever go to child court, probably just again due to the societal expectation of women to do this and the fact that they do it based on the statistics, they're probably going to get custody. They're probably closer to the child. They're probably more intimate with the child's activities. And then the other side of that is when men go to court, what I see, again, anecdotal, grain of salt, they're not going for custody of their child because it's for the benefit of their child. They're going as an attempt to lower child support payments. And that shows when you are in child court. I don't know if you've ever been before, but I haven't. I'm listening again. This is my anecdotal experience from what I've heard from my friends. But it's like you're going to court to lower child support payments. What does this have to do with the well-being of the child and you caring and loving your child? It doesn't. So it's surprising to me that men are so successful in child court when, again, they largely don't do childcare at home. And in my experience, usually they just go to court to lower child support payments and not for.
Well, that's in our community, and when he's giving the statistics, like I'm assuming you're including everyone.
Yes. So you know what? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and like I was talking to this guy. He was a white man. He's an older white man, and he was talking to me about his struggle, you know, in child support court with his son. And I was just in awe. And I was just so fascinated because he was talking about how he was dipping into his retirement fund and everything to pay for lawyers. And so he was really involved. And he showed me pictures of his son. Like he was an involved father. And I would imagine that if the amount is so low. Yes, there are the fools in our community that believe that go and say these things with a straight face and believe that they are not sounding the way they're sounding, that will go to court and talk like that. But there are other people who genuinely, you know, want to be with their kids. And I watched this documentary. It was a white lady and it was white people. I don't think I saw any black people in it, but she was advocating, you know, for men's rights. And some of the men were telling their stories about women who were keeping them from their kids and stuff like that, you know. So I don't at all feel like there aren't people who do that and there aren't situations where that happen, but being that the amount is so low, I would imagine the amount of men, black men in that fraction is so low as well with the tomfoolery.
Once again, this turned into a black man drag.
I didn't. I'm sorry, but I wasn't. I'm just saying. No, but I'm saying like for all the ones that we actually talk to and say like it's only a fraction of those that are actually going to step into court and say that, because I believe on a level like they know. You know what I mean? And that's part of that whole aversion to court is knowing like you can't just go to court and say, well, she's not accountable. You're going to have receipts. You're going to have to be able to prove that you're fit. And I won't say a lot of them, but in my experience, in the circles I've been in and the people dealing in these situations, these dudes don't live on their own. They don't have no jobs. They don't have no car. They don't have any kind of resources. They wouldn't be able to answer any of those questions about, you know, the child's day to day. So they just ought to stay out of court.
Okay. And I can see completely where she's coming from on that, because it is true. So like I said, I've never put forth and I will say this, and I don't mean to, I mean, if they say it, they say it, whatever. I've never tried to do it because I don't feel it's always necessary. You know what I mean? So if you can work together, I would rather see people work together and stay out of the court system. And you don't need the court system to determine your life, right? But what she's saying is completely true. All of these things that they want you to know and understand and ask about your child, you know what I mean, or about childcare in general, most men don't even take the time to do simple research. You know what I mean? Most men don't even take the time to, I know this is what I'm going to need to know, because your lawyer is going to prepare you to show up there. This is what I need to know. Let me go try to find this out. Let me do what I can to figure this stuff out, so I at least look like I might know or might really be interested in this whole fatherhood thing when I show up. You know what I mean? Most men won't even try to put forth that little bit of effort, and then they just, yeah, like she said, they shouldn't even go and do it, because you just look stupid. And in my opinion, you look worse. You look worse as a father whenever you show up and then you can't even tell them, hey, what day was your son born? Maybe you know the day, maybe you know the month, maybe you don't know either one. It looks really sad. You know what I mean? Like simple details that if you're a first-time parent, you never forget. I never forget my son's birthday, the time he took to come out, the delivery time, the time he was born, his height and weight, you know, things like that, like are implanted because, I mean, it's just a thing. You know what I mean? I was very invested in being a father, and I still am. But a lot of men out there are not even close.
Well, did you guys ever see, it was going around on social media last year, it was a guy was like arguing with the girl and kind of trying to pull her down the street, and she was fighting because he was basically saying like, look, you got to go get this abortion because I don't want this kid with you, and blah, 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 blah. She's like, no, get off me. And he's just like, just yelling and screaming, pulling her, and you know what I mean? And I think a lot of times we're dealing with situations like that where they went to have sex, you know what I mean? And now a baby is coming. And so from the jump, they've already disassociated themselves from the baby in their mind. So they aren't going to bother to get happy and be invested and know the minute and the date and the, you know, all the specifics about the baby's birth and things like that, because they're already in that space of this woman is trying to ruin my life.
I never heard of that case ever. That sounds traumatic.
Yeah, I actually haven't either, but I would not doubt it at all. Sounds really crazy, but I would not doubt it as sad as it is.
It is now 8:31. I have been awake since 2 a.m. I'm going to try to wrap this up by going through some comments that I wanted to go through earlier, but the conversation did not allow. And I want to start with Moonstone, because I believe Moonstone is being petty with this comment. $22K a year is $1,833 a month, which equals $22 an hour. Actually, that would be $11 an hour if we divide that by 160, which is what most people work in a month. And that's not included. That's not including taxes taken out. Does $11 an hour seem like middle class to you guys, especially when we consider the inflation recently?
No, that $22K. I can't remember the last time I made $22K.
$11 an hour is no longer middle class. Did it used to be middle class? Most definitely. And I will only say that from experience because, and I'll put it out there because I'm very open. My father spent a good amount of time, you know what I mean, serving the state, right? He was locked up, right? He spent a good amount of time doing that. So my mom was a single mom for that period, and she made $11 an hour and supported me and my brother just fine the entire time on $11 an hour. Of course, this was years and years ago, you know, like 20 plus years ago. So it used to be middle class, but no, not even close to middle class anymore.
Okay, with that being said, I really wanted to get into a little bit more of the Themis live, but I just do not have the energy. I'm going to take us into the after show and play my outro. Thank you everybody for watching. Maybe leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more. Let me put my banner up so you guys remember at the bottom. I hope you guys see that at the bottom. I'm such a nice guy. But girls don't want nice guys like me. Girls only want assholes. So just keep that in mind. Let's end, on something positive. And again, guys, I'm going to have an after show. The after show is about to be very ghetto. Please stay around. Not I had that ghetto ass comment up while I play my Moonstone is ruining my life. Why are you being petty in the comments? Guys, here's what I would like to do in the after show to kind of end on something lighthearted and get me out of this harrowing mood where I'm literally just reliving this traumatic thing that was Themis' life. I would like us to watch a video. And I would like to know your guys' thoughts. Quick little video. Is that all right?
Hey, hold on real quick. I ain't gonna take long. I vibe with Nia though. She said no, not just fine, but she made it work. Indeed, Nia, indeed. She definitely made it work, but no, not just fine.
She made it work. She did not make it work. She did not make it, in my opinion, she did not make it work. Everything about that was struggle. Ain't nothing working. This, like, I asked this. Never mind, I'm not gonna bring this dude and his salary in it. He was asking for submission. I asked for his salary. He gave me his salary. I said, do you think you deserve submission based on what you just told me? He said, I can provide for a family with this. And I said, provide what? And that's what this comment is giving Nia. Made it work. How?
That's just like the other one was like, what are you supposed to do? What else is there?
Oh, you got a roof over your head and we got candles, light. What? You don't have electricity? I'm trying to pull this up. It's Lynn Watchhorn. 1 second.
You are muted. I don't hear anything you're saying.
Damn, and I'm over here. Yes, I was dragging. I wasn't dragging Nia. I was dragging the person I'm about to put on screen. I just want to make sure there's no private info. So I'm trying to cover it up. Y'all just gonna have to give me a second. But this is Lynn Watchhorn. Forget covering it up. This is Lynn Watchhorn, and I've critiqued her video on my channel before. Here's the one I'm looking for. How do I get this off of the screen? Let me make this full screen. My public name is here. I don't want to. I really don't want to put it on the screen, y'all. How about this? Let me do it like this. Let's share my screen and hope. We're just going to hope, y'all. Now let's take this down real quick. And let's do it like this. Can everybody see what's on the screen?
No. It's nothing.
No.
On the screen now.
What? It's a whole lady up here. Am I tripping, chat? Key? Y'all don't see nothing on the screen?
I can see a lady with purple hair.
I see the thing loading. I don't see it yet.
Buddy.
Okay, now I see her.
Mm-hmm. That's Boo's Mobile. That's what that is. You need to get you some Verizon. Let's listen to this real quick. I think she says something really important here.
Man expressing his feelings. A woman expressing her feelings.
So that's pretty much how most of her content goes. Women bad, men good. And let's discuss just that quick little snippet. When women share their emotions, yay, applause, hell yeah. When men share their emotions, boo, no, don't do it. It is my personal thoughts, guys, that, and don't drag me for this, guys. Have you ever heard something like, wow, somebody's on their period? You're being illogical. You're just emotional because you're a woman. Women are emotional creatures, not logical. To me, what this says is, even though there's a misconception that women can share their emotion publicly without critique, what actually goes on is women share their emotion and there is a lot of critique. Yes, I agree. Men have critique when we share our emotion. Like we discussed today about men having a lack of resources, I also agree that men have a lack of being able to outwardly show emotion. There's like discouragement for that. But do we have to pretend that women are not also dragged for showing emotions? Literally, when we have ever discussed the manosphere, one of the things they say all the time, women think with emotion, men think with logic, as a way to dismiss women's emotions and dismiss what women are saying as just period talk. Clearly, you're on your period. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. What are your guys' thoughts? Not Becky climbing the mountain. Y'all can comment. I just wanted to give my thoughts.
Yes, everything you said. Everything you said. I will say, like, I would never go to well, he's gone now, but I would have never went to his show. I would never go to the other one, the two friends show. I wouldn't go certain places expecting to be heard out. I will say that much. I do feel like it depends on the time and the place, and also the reputation of the person that's talking. Like, if it's a man that is notorious for being misogynistic and rude and, you know, overbearing, then people may not be apt to want to hear what he's saying. Like, even when we're at Themis, not even really tapping into their emotions. So it's kind of hard to feel sorry for this, even when they're expressing, like that guy that was basically laying out the way that his own father had abandoned him, and it wasn't, you know, but was blaming his mother. When you broke it down, no, it had nothing to do with his, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to have sympathy for people that just want to make you the bad guy.
It's Key, you can go first before I give another piece. Sorry.
So I don't really have a whole lot to put in. I agree mostly with what she said. I don't know about agreeing with the part about women, I guess, getting dragged, or what you said about showing sympathy. I don't know about all of that. I don't know for sure about that. The men for sure, but women, I don't know so much.
Have you ever heard of this type of trope where once a man gets married, his life goes to crap? His wife always trying to talk to him all day about nothing, and he just trying to watch TV while his wife is bothering him. In my opinion, we do have a culture around men being extremely dismissive of women who want to express their emotion. Maybe you can say that women amongst each other provide emotional support, but you cannot deny, again, what I said about when a woman is saying something in an emotional way, she's on her period. Women are emotional creatures. Men are logical. She just doesn't know what she's talking about. She's too emotional. Do you not think that exists, or?
Okay, I can see that point. Okay, when you put it that way, I definitely can. Maybe I missed that if you said that already. But yeah, I do see that because that's a very well-known thing. And I won't go into detail on what I think about it. I think it's true. I think it's true. Men say that, women say that, you know, they do show each other more support, I guess, than the man that they're married to, or whatever. So
Thank you, True Mystique. That is what it's called. It's called nagging. Women who, you know, try to express to you maybe something they're feeling, that's called nagging, and bothering you as a man. So maybe this is a male-centric issue where, yes, men can express their emotions, probably due to other men, and women can't express their emotions to other men. But the way she
Or
posed
their
it is,
affection for men.
or affection, yeah. The way she posed it, again, it's not like, hey, let's recognize that men have this problem too. It's like paints women in an evil light. And the comparison I will make is male sexual assault, right? How often do you see people talk about male sexual assault? Or let me put it like this. The only time I see men discuss male sexual assault is when women are discussing female sexual assault, and a man will interject himself to say, well, us men get it too, but nobody cares about us men in society, right? But when you go on those videos of grown teacher assaulted a little boy in her class, I don't see the man there. I don't see them anywhere where it's actually going on. I only see them showing up where women are discussing women ideas and women problems so that they can interject male problems in there. Actually, I do see them show up on those videos where teachers are molesting their children, and they say, "I wish that was me." So why is it that we cannot address male issues without slandering women and trying to paint it as if women have it so easy? Either of you can answer, or it can be a rhetorical question and I can end the live stream. Y'all don't have to answer. We could just drop the microphone. Let me unscrew this thing and drop it. Give me a second, please. It's very screwed on.
I'll go unless you want to go.
Yeah, you can go. Anybody.
Okay, I'm gonna just say it like this because I believe it's a very true statement you just said, or that question you just said holds true value, right? I don't think it is possible for men to be addressed without slandering women, and I only say that because there are men out there. There are a group of men in society who firmly believe that the majority, if not all, of their problems come from dealing with women. And I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying that's a thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong if you don't think that's a thing, but I firmly believe that's a thing. I think there's that group of men that believe if they weren't dealing with women, you know what I mean, on extended terms. Now, if you're just one time and then you're done with her, that's not dealing with a woman, right? You just one interaction, you're done, you know, and y'all know what I mean by that. But whenever it comes to dealing with women on extended terms, dating, marriage, that type of thing, families, kids, there are men that believe their problems are coming from these women. They don't believe that their problems are coming from anything that they partake in, hobby-wise, anything that they do at work, anything outside of the home. They don't think that, and they don't associate their problems with that. So that's why I think it's difficult.
That doesn't really make sense, though. Are you trying to say the problem is within me and not within every single woman on earth?
Exactly. I would never say that. That's not what I would ever say. Nope, I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't dare hold a man accountable to the point of saying you have your own problems within yourself and it's not coming from everything else that you do. I would never do that. No.
It's not registering. What do you mean? Wait, no, because are you it's not every woman ever, it's me?
I mean, I'm just saying, what are the chances? You know what I mean? I like to play this odds game. What are the odds that every single woman you've ever dealt with has an issue and you have never lasted or made it with any of them and it's not you? What are the odds?
Like that is what it is, though, right? Isn't it everybody else and not me? It can't be a problem with me. It has to be a problem with like all women ever, right? Yeah. Like what you're saying doesn't make sense. Like I have a problem and that's why I have this problem with any woman. No, that's not real. What happens is every single woman I talk to has a problem, not me. Yeah, what you're saying don't make sense, man. You talking crazy. I'm the problem. How? Just because I engage in degenerate behavior? No, it's their fault for picking me. Yeah, these stupid women. What a great live stream, guys. I have one more thing, but I don't want to look at it because it makes me sad. It's a black woman and she's twerking, and people are in the comments comparing her to Flavor Flav. They're comparing her to some photoshopped ugly pictures. And I was asking myself, it's black men, unfortunately. Do black men love black woman features? Because when it comes to this woman in this picture, when it comes to Serena Williams, or when it comes to just natural looking black women who aren't glammed up, big lips, perfect skin, no blemishes, they are dragged. You don't have edges, you're dragged. Your hair naturally grows nappy, you're dragged. It's like there was a video and it's called, I wish I knew who made it and what's it called. It might be Khadijah Mbo, maybe it might be them. I don't know. But this woman made a video and the title of it is something like Black Girl Magic. And she talks about how when people say I love black girls and black girl features, what they actually mean is I love this perfect image of black girls, right? Famous Lupita or somebody, Beyonce, this beautiful image of a black woman with perfect skin, no blemishes. But when it comes to regular, average black women, you look like a monkey, you look like a dog, you look at your hair, it's nappy and ratchet and ghetto. So do people actually like black women? Like, and when I say people, I'm specifically talking about black men, unfortunately. Or is it just like this ploy of pretending?
I think and I'm using Erica De Niro's thing now. I think they're programmed not to. And the reason I say that is because when I was in middle school and high school, I used to get called a lot of things. I used to get called a monkey in like middle school. When I got to high school, this one boy used to always call me Lady Shrek. And, but when I got older, mind you, I got older thinking, oh, I'm not that cute. And then, like, especially when I got really much older to where I wasn't even checking on men and stuff like that, that's when I realized, like, I was attractive for whatever reason. Now, what the reasons are that they are attracted to me, I don't know. But I'm not saying I don't think I'm attracted. But you get what I'm saying? Like, what their purposes are for being attracted to me, I may not be able to put my finger on. But I recognize that I am attractive and I found myself attractive, which was harder when I was younger because I was internalizing the things that were being said about me. But it was specifically like a couple of guys that specifically told me flat out they found me ugly in high school, that when we became adults, Facebook is the devil and people just reach out and say the wildest things. So it was then that they were just kind of like, oh no, I think you're attractive, and I always thought you were attractive, and this and that and the other. But and when I was in school and stuff, that was early 2000s, so that was the height of exoticals and light skin texturism type of stuff going on. You know what I mean? So I think they thought that was what they preferred, but when they got older, they still do. But now we have these interpersonal problems that black men and women are having. So now they're just like, well, non-black is better. You know what I mean?
Yes. With that being, all right, Key can't handle it. Key can't handle a serious conversation. Okay. I'm gonna answer these questions in order, and then we're gonna end this thing hopefully in about 1 minute.
All right, I'm gonna drop off. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for joining. And you have a good day. Ania, how did you function in the manosphere? Surprisingly, I did not have the critical thinking skills last year to take what I call an extra step. The manosphere men present the data to me. For example, 66% of black women are single moms. These black women need to blah, 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 blah. If we had have just taken it one step further and said, the reason they are single moms is because 66% of black fathers leave their children. If we had literally just taken that one extra step of critical thinking, we could have had a legitimate conversation about it, but no one in the manosphere ever takes that step. And I was comfortable in the misogyny because I think I was just hurt by a girl in particular who I fancied and she didn't like me back. And so it was very easy to fall into this misogyny. Where's my banner? Let me put my banner up. There we go. I'm such a nice guy, but these girls only want bad boys. They don't want a nice guy like me. Women only want assholes. They don't want a good guy like me. Right? It was very easy to fall into that because, like we discussed today, when we were talking about these women with psychological issues who may go back to an abuser over and over and over again, it's difficult. It's more difficult to have a conversation about that system of abuse and what causes it, and have the bigger conversation, as opposed to just blaming the individual, which is what I was doing. I was just blaming this woman who I liked for not liking me back. I didn't think critically about it. I didn't think about the women who liked me and I didn't like them back, who I didn't find attractive, and how would I feel if some dusty dude was trying, or dusty woman was trying to make me lower my standards and accept her when she does not meet? Like, just thinking about it critically and taking that extra step was not there. So luckily I'm here now. Men are emotional. Yeah, I've talked about this before. I don't think people register aggression and anger as an emotion, so men aren't seen as emotional. But when I look at the rates of, I don't know, crimes of passion and killing and stuff like that, where you cheated on me, I'm gonna kill you, or I'm gonna show up on your doorstep and flash a gun at your camera doorbell because you on Facebook making these statuses like you single. Not like that seems really emotional to me, really aggressive, like you can't control yourself or think logically, which is interesting from the sex of people that say we're logical creatures. No, I don't think they consider that. Sincere is clearly forgettable. I don't know what that means. I don't have an ounce of sympathy for 99.99. As long as I'm the 0.1, you fine. Don't have no sympathy for them at all. I don't have any sympathy for them. Like Keith said, I'm going to drag them 1,000% on my channel, and we don't drag women over here. We don't hold women accountable over here because y'all have channels to do that yourself. They call it nagging. He's 1,000 times smarter than all of them. Thank you, which isn't saying a lot. Thank you for that insult compliment. I appreciate it. I'll take it. Men always need things dumbed down. I think she was talking about when we were talking about men and their lack of resources to custody. And I was like, there is no lack of resources. You just don't want them. You don't look for them. And you don't have an expectation to take care of your child. What Jenny Bean said, I agree with. Like, think about something like weaponized incompetence, where a man will literally hold his child upside down or weird. So you, the woman, will just take it and be like, no, never again. I'll just do it myself. Like, it's legitimately accepted that men just bat with kids. They can't take care of them. It's up to you. So whatever. Follow-up should be, do you know any men in your Do you know any men in your life that have been, where did this come from? And if they say no, they pretty much prove their own counter. Where did this come from? What the world? Did I do well in school? Yeah, I did very well in school. I know I tell y'all I have a GED, but that's not the level of education I actually have. I'm not going to reveal what I actually have to the internet yet, because what if y'all found out I was a PhD and I'm up here talking stupid? I'm not gonna let y'all be like, this can't be. No, y'all just gonna have to believe I have a GHD for now. GED. See, GED knowledge, guys. I misspell shit all the time. Men need stuff dumbed down. To follow up does not compute. Petty the good guy. I'm looking for a specific comment. Do black men like their own features? It doesn't seem like it. When I look at people like Kodak Black, or I'm thinking about rappers in general who will go on Genius or Vlad TV and they'll be like, I'm gonna get with a white girl because I don't want my baby to be dark like me. Like, that's self-hate, ain't it? And I've been there before. Like, some of my features, I mean, I'm pretty, I'm sexy, let's be real here, but I didn't always used to feel that way. So sometimes I don't think black men like their features as a whole. And I think that's why a lot of people have this mixed baby fetish, because they don't want their child to look like them. So, but y'all have talked about that better than I have before. So where is the question I wanted? Did the dude in the picture with her get clowned too? The dude in the picture was not the actual woman. This is the woman. This is the video. I'll play. So just a black woman. I think she looks gorgeous. Maybe you don't. Whatever it is, what it is. The comments were like, aha, she's Flavor Flav. Look at her. Some of the comments, luckily, were like, this woman is beautiful. Sure, you take this out of context video where she's hot sweating outside in the heat and make her look bad and drag her. But there are photos where she are prepared and she looks nice. And then, of course, the photo you're talking about, did the man get dragged? No, he did not. This is a picture of another black woman, I think, or maybe trans. I don't know. I really don't. I'm not trying to insult her or him, but That was a joke that they posted in the comments to make fun of how she looked, which is why I asked, do black men actually like black women? Because it was mostly black men dragging in the comments. Hood booger, she's a hood booger and such, and I didn't like it. I just, yeah, let me just stop sharing. Yeah, what a way to end the live, right? Maybe I should have left it on that note where we were dragging that white girl with the purple hair. How old are you? I'm 17. But my 30th birthday is November. So be ready to get gifts, guys. But in short, I'm not gonna tell you. But I'm young. I'm pretty young. I'm not in my 30s. Or am I? Let me say I'm in my 30s so y'all can think. There was this woman who I thought was cute, kind of unrelated, guys. And when I talked to her, I learned she was 40. I thought she was like 20 or something. So instantly, instead of just being cute, she became gorgeous to me because I was like, whoa, you look extremely well. Like, so maybe if I tell people I'm like 45, then they won't talk about this terrible. I tried to put a slit in my eyebrow. You can't see it, but it's bleeding, guys. I might just cut this part from the Why do you sound just like, oh man, I've been missing the comments y'all been talking about. Did you do well in school? I already said that. That was delayed. Love the confidence. Yes, I am sexy, guys. Let's be real here. Black is sexy, even though I hate black men right now. Delayed from when you brought up men only. Yeah. Shoot, I forgot what that question was earlier that I was like, where did this come from? But let me see if I can find it. If I can't, we're nearing the end of the comments. Oh, here it is. Do you know any men in your life that have been touched? If they say no, pretty much prove their point. I also think, yeah, when it comes to men whining about where are the domestic shelters for men? Where are the sexual abuse camps for men? Where are the cases for men? Isn't it something like women are 7-8 times more likely to experience sexual assault than men? If that's the case, why would we need more? I think there's a demand for more resources without there actually being anybody to use those resources. I'm not saying that men don't experience sexual abuse or domestic violence or anything like that. I am saying it's unfair of you to compare raw numbers of domestic shelters for men to domestic shelters for women when you are 7 times less likely to experience this. Do you really need one every single place when it just doesn't happen in large? Or are we okay with what we have? So yeah, I wish people would. You in your early 20s. Y'all can think whatever y'all want to think. They be mad when the draft. I don't care about no draft. I don't care about no draft. I think that's all of the comments. Do men even create a safe space for men to be honest about it? I want my space to be a safe place for black men and black women. It's hard to do that because, as Themis acknowledged Tuesday during the live stream, when we talk about mending the community, a lot of the accountability is placed on the men. And sometimes those men can feel attacked. Key literally came up today and said, you love holding these black men accountable so much. And yes, I do, because I see most of the issue in the community is with the men. So can it be a safe space when you are the subject of accusations? I don't know. You don't sound 45 though. Let me not hit a Themis after dark voice. Let me not. You look 17. I am 17, guys. Seriously. Okay, at this point, all of the comments we're done with all the comments. This is the last comment. I think I answered it, hopefully to your liking. I already played my outro, so I'm just going to dip out. Make sure to like, subscribe if you're not already. Recommend to a young man out there who you think may need to see some positive black male content. Petty is 45. I don't think I like that. Do I look 45? Is this an insult? If men have issues with the stigma around being sexually assaulted, it's other men who are making it hard for them. I agree. I wish there were some men here to discuss these ideals. Invincible, I'm not about to play with you. Because y'all are being rude. Yeah, I'm gonna get off now. I guess you guys can meet me in the Discord, since it looks like this is literally just, is this just fruitcakes in the chat? Where are my audience? My subscribers are 85% men, 18 to 24. Where are they? The women come for advice, and the men, where they at? Good night, y'all. Y'all have a good night.